Hello and welcome to another podcast by Asian Agribiz. I'm Rajeswari Ramani, and in this episode, our regional correspondent from Indonesia, Meliana, spoke to Dr. Budi Tangendaja about how the local poultry industry handled the ban on antibiotic growth promoters. Dr. Budi is a well known animal nutritionist and feedmill authority who serves Southeast Asia in a technical consultant capacity.
Dr. Budi, thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Hi everyone, good to hear somebody from Agribiz to speak here. Thank you.
Today, we're going to explore how the poultry industry in Indonesia has coped with the ban on antibiotic growth promoters or AGPs. The industry has enjoyed the benefits of the use of antibiotic growth promoters for decades. But with the ban imposed in January 2018 on the use of antibiotics and coccidiostat, producers are using this as a reason for the decline in chicken performance. And it's been 3 years. We would like to explore with you whether this ban has been effective and how has it helped with productivity and raised the quality of output. So, let's start with how has the ban affected poultry producers?
Yeah, in my experience, before I start explaining, probably I have to explain that I got involved with the regulation because I'm the expert member for ASOHI, which is Animal Health Association for Indonesia. So we have been working before the new regulation has been released by the government. So once the regulation has been released, we observe, this is my observation, and after talking with several key people in the industry, that the productivity, especially for broiler, is going down after the ban of antibiotic growth promoter. So there is indication that the performance of the broiler is decreasing because I noticed not only from the FCR particularly, but if we calculate it from the what I call it the broiler index or productivity index, which is equivalent with European economic factor from Europe, the performance decrease has been reported ranging from 20 to 40 point. So my estimate that if 1 point at the moment, 1 point of the broiler index may cost 45 rupiah per live bird, per one bird. So the decrease from 20 to 40 point may decrease the cost, and not decrease, but increase the cost of the broiler starting from 900 to become 1,800 per bird. So this is the report from the industry, what happened with the impact by banning of AGP. But the major issue is not only the banning AGP in terms of antibiotic growth promoter. Indonesian government banning AGP and part of AGP including coccidiostat. So inside of the AGP list, there is also monensin, salinomycin, and other anticoccidial agent, mainly antibiotic, is also banned. So this situation may create difficulty for feed company. How do you control coccidiosis in the field? Because the only choice will be of the coccidiostat coming from the chemical rather than from antibiotic. This created a lot of problem for nutritionists in the feed mill how to control coccidiosis. So we notice in the market there's appears not only necrotic enteritis is going up, but also incidence of the coccidiosis is coming in the broiler. Not only in the broiler, but also notice in layer, especially necrotic enteritis. So this is the situation after AGP ban in early stage 2018. After the development of couple years until now, the feed company and also the farmer may adapt the situation. Probably the performance decreasing may be less compared to the beginning of the banning of antibiotic. So this is my observation, which I receive also not only from the feed industry, but also from the farmers, the integrator. But I also noticed that the banning of AGP in the feed resulted the increased usage of the antibiotic for treatment. I received the notice from a distributor of antibiotic in Indonesia that because the regulation like this, the market of antibiotic for medical treatment is going up because of the banning AGP. So it seems that the people replacing AGP by using a lot of antibiotic for medical treatment, for therapeutic agent, what I call it. So this is the situation that I noticed from the field.
You're right, Dr. Budi. A broiler farmer did say that farmers suffered from poor performance and FCR increased by several points. Now, let's move on to the next question. Over the last 3 years, how has complaint and monitoring of this ban been?
Yeah, if you look at in the field situation, the government, in this case, a Directorate General of Livestock and Animal Health, try to monitor whether the regulation is become very effective or not. In the first year, the regulation has been monitored through the sample of the feed that has been collected not only from the feed company, but also the sample of the feed that has been offered to the layer farm, for example, at the farm level. The government collect the sample, they try to analyze it, how much the residue inside of the feed. In addition, also government may send somebody to check, to conduct the auditing for the feed company, where the antibiotic usage in the feed mill has been done properly or not to follow the regulation. So government try to monitor. However, the incidence of the residue, in the purpose of the monitoring of antibiotic ban is related with antimicrobial resistance in the animal product. So, but government doesn't have sufficient monitoring program for how much the residue of the antibiotic detected in the meat, like in the broiler meat or in egg. So mainly government is trying to monitor the usage, not what happened with the residue of the final product. There's a lot of publication before the antibiotic ban that the residue of the antibiotic detected in the meat is not related with the AGP, because the type of antibiotic detected in the meat and also egg is related with much more with therapeutic agent, antibiotic therapeutic agents such as amoxicillin, doxycycline that has been detected in the animal product, but not with antibiotic coming from AGP, something like virginiamycin, zinc bacitracin methylene disalicylate, or something like that. So this is kind of the observation that found in the field, that the government still keep monitoring what happened. The other interesting point that I would like to mention, that after banning antibiotic, including anticoccidial coming from antibiotic, the feed company have difficulty to find the alternative to replace coccidiostat. So because, as we know, when you use the coccidiostat, you have to make what we call it the alternate usage or shuttle program, or keep changing like that after several months of the usage. So what happened when antibiotic coming from coccidiostat is also banned, the feed miller have difficulty to find the alternative because they have to select only the chemical. And we cannot use all the chemical all the time for feeding to the broiler. We have to find the replacement because there's a shuttle program have to be done. So in this case, the feed miller have difficulty to find alternative to use coccidiostat. And 1 year after the banning, Indonesian government released what we call it medicated feed. So the feed company can produce what we call it medicated feed on the purpose of medication. Inside of the medicated feed, it is possible that coccidiostat, which is coming from antibiotic, can be used in the feed. However, it has to be approved by veterinarian. So government at the end, the second year, they put the regulation, new regulation that medicated feed become possible, but have to be under veterinarian prescription.
That's great. Dr. Budi, can you tell us how has this ban altered the farming landscape in terms of management and cost?
As I mentioned previously, that the cost of production is going up, ranging from 900 to become 1,800 per bird rupiah. The farmer try to put more therapeutic antibiotic when the disease is coming. So they put it more medication in the field, although we reduce amount of the antibiotic in the feed, but the farmer have to put more expenses to treat the animal. But the feed miller also start to learn how to find the alternative in using AGP. They discover there are several products in the market is available as a replacement of AGP. But look at the cost. At the end of the cost of replacement of the AGP, some people reported more than double. Sometimes the feed miller claim that we cannot use only one single alternative, such as, for example, acidifier only. We have to use something else with essential oil or with probiotic. At the end of the day, the cost of the feed is going up compared to the usage of the AGP. But again, the cost of production may go up in terms of the feed cost, but also the performance, but also the expenses of the farmer spending for medication. At the end of the day, the cost production of meat and egg will be going up. However, in order to protect possible antimicrobial resistance to the human consumption, this is fine. But we have to find a different approach in order to minimize the issue, especially with the cost. The best approach for me, what I recommend to the farmer, they have to improve the biosecurity, because the main purpose of using AGP is trying to improve the gut health. The gut health problem is normally coming from the pathogen coming from the field. So this is the challenge. This is the time to challenge the farmer that they have to improve the biosecurity to prevent the pathogen coming to the animal. So there's a lot of issue happen in the farmer. For example, provide the clean water, preventing of the other people coming to the farm, preventing cleaning of the house, for example. So there's several options have to be approached, have to be done by the farmer to improve, to recover the cost because of the banning antibiotic growth promoter.
Okay, you mentioned that broiler production costs increased to 1,800 rupiah per bird, and this is far higher than cost of AGP. So, what can producers do to maintain costs and farm gate prices? And how can nutritional management help them manage disease on their farms?
So in order to maintain production cost of animal poultry in at the farm price, several options has been advised. In the feed mill side, the feed mill is looking for the alternative to replace AGP, replacing AGP with several products available in the market, such as probiotic, enzyme, essential oil, acidifier, and others. However, most of the replacement for AGP is more costly than original price of AGP. So that's the reason why feed mill will put more expenses in the feed. In addition, several feed mill reporting that the use of one alternative may not be sufficient. Some feed mill has been using two kind of the substance in replacement of AGP. So the cost will be more than double at the end. So again, the feed mill is still searching what the best approach to reduce the cost. With the appearance of medicated feed, several feed mills try to produce medicated feed, especially when using anticoccidial coming from antibiotic. So this one also may be able to reduce the cost when the animal get the outbreak. Another approach that can be used by the feed mill, beside the feed mill, is by the farmer. The main important thing for the farmer to improve the cost is try to improve the biosecurity, because rather than spending so much money by buying antibiotic for medication, the farmer have to improve the biosecurity to prevent any pathogen coming to the farm. By improving the biosecurity, the farmer will be able to reduce the cost of medication and improve the farm performance. However, the main challenge with open-sided house for the farmer, generally in the broiler farm and also in layer farm in Indonesia, it is difficult to maintain high level of biosecurity. There is reason there are some people that we have to encourage to change the production system from the open-sided house to become closed house. With this kind of closed house system, we're expecting the performance index will go up and the cost of production will be decreased. So this is the way what we can do to minimize the cost of production, both for broiler and layer.
Well, next, how can consumers be assured that the chicken they buy and consume is AGP free, especially in wet market?
Major consumer from Indonesia, major people to buy the animal product will rely upon the price. So the price is major decision-making process to use to buy the broiler and also egg. So farmer or the consumer hardly consider how much the antibiotic residue in the meat or in the egg, except there are certain high level of the consumer, high income people, they start to look for the animal product, broiler, chicken or meat and egg, which is zero of antibiotic. So in order to achieve this target of AMR, antimicrobial resistance for human of Indonesia, we have to work together between the government, also the industry, and also the consumer to monitor what the residue of antibiotic in the meat, because the main purpose to remove the antibiotic residue is to improve antimicrobial resistance for human antibiotic. So that's the reason we have to work together, and may take several years to understand, to educate the consumer that this is possible to produce meat or egg which is free of antibiotic. Secondly, we have to also make awareness not only to the consumer, government also have to educate the production people that using antibiotic for medication, especially medication at the farm level, may create residue is much more rather than AGP. So the challenge nowadays, we have to work together to make awareness about possibility of the antibiotic residue in meat and egg, and it may take a long time to educate the consumer. So government and industry have to work together to improve all the quality of the meat produced by poultry production in Indonesia. So we expect in the future, hopefully the AMR, antimicrobial resistant incident in Indonesia may decrease because awareness has been improved.
Excellent. Dr. Budi, thank you so much for your insight. We hope we can speak to you in the future. Thank you.
So I'm glad to share my understanding for all the people, for the industry. Let's work together to improve the performance, at the same time minimize the cost and increase meat consumption and egg consumption for Indonesian people. Thank you.
It is clear that feed millers and farmers need to adapt to this new situation by seeking alternatives to replace AGBs. Despite increasing feed costs, the best approach seems to lie in improving biosecurity, where cost of medication can be reduced without compromising on growth performances. We hope the info given in this episode was insightful, and you may download it from www.asian-agribiz.com should you wish to share it. Thank you for joining us today, and do join us for our next one. This is Rajeswari Ramani signing off.